All right, we're back. Here I have one of my $14 Tractor Supply kiddie pools. Punched a bunch of holes in it with a drill. Fill it with my potting mix soil. Put some Osmocote in, slow release fertilizer. And then I just took a simple piece of trim board and I made some rows. And I pushed down on the soil so that the rows were embedded a little bit. Now that I have my rows, I'm just gonna take my radish seed and sprinkle it along. And I'm gonna overseed a little bit because I can always thin afterwards. And when you're making the rows, you kind of want a board that's a little wide. So this one's about 1.5 inches. And what that does is it allows the seeds, instead of a thin, narrow row for the seeds to fall in, it's a wider row so the seeds can bounce off side to side, and you'll actually get a higher yield because they're growing, in a wider row than just in a long, skinny row. And when you're farming at home, it's all about successions. So this is a bigger pool. I could fill the whole thing with radishes, but honestly, my family's not gonna eat this many radishes all at once. So why plant them all? So I did half the pool with radishes. I'm gonna do the next 2 rows with a baby lettuce mix, and the last row I'm gonna do is some scallions. And that way, I have 3 different crops kind of come in all at the same time. I'll take another pool and I'll do the same thing a few weeks later, and that way I'm always getting a steady supply of vegetables. Got my 3 rows of radishes, 2 rows of lettuce. Now my last row is gonna be scallions. Now that I got all my rows seeded, I'm gonna cover the radishes. The lettuce really likes light to germinate, so I'm gonna cover that very lightly. If you had vermiculite, people will use that. Vermiculite is basically a substance that you spread on the lettuce and it absorbs the water and holds it. So when the sun's baking on the soil, which can dry out, the vermiculite holds that water a lot longer and keeps the seed moist. And then the scallions you can cover, just like the radishes. And there you go. But one last step, I want to show you something cool. So radishes, certain things like kale, lettuce, they can get a lot of these flies when they lay maggots, and they're constantly killing the plant at the root. It starts to wilt. Doesn't matter what size, it looks big and beautiful. So it's a constant battle where I am. So instead of having to spray all the time, which doesn't always work anyway, I make this product called insect netting. And it's a very fine, very small holes, so it keeps out even the smallest insects. There's different grade ones, and it's white so it doesn't heat up. Basically, you kind of just lay it right over the top just like this. And I'm just gonna slide the edges under my pool to really lock it in place. I leave a little bit extra, so as the plants grow, there's plenty of room for this, as you can see, to come up with the leaves. There's no resistance. And it can be used anywhere. If you have a raised bed, if you're going right in the ground, just dig a couple channels, very shallow, lay this down, put the edges in the channels, and throw some shovelfuls of dirt along the edges and bury it slightly. Keep it there. Some people will use hoops. Then you can put the insect netting over the hoops. So a lot of different things. So if you haven't heard of it, seen it before, definitely check it out. It's a lifesaver.